As the wait for Pikmin 4 continues, and after recently playing through Pikmin 3 Deluxe, I thought it'd be fun to think about where the series could go next. And after having recently beat it on every difficulty and getting platinum on all the side missions, I started to come away with a few ideas, but one idea stuck out to me. So, when thinking about other Nintendo properties, there's one mechanic that they usually like to bring into series once they start to go on past 2 or 3 entries, and that's the parallel world or dark and light world mechanic. Probably the most well known and revered game for doing so is A Link to the Past, which itself even was revisited in a sequel. And after thinking about it for a bit, I started to realize that this could be a perfect fit for Pikmin. Now, I don't necessarily mean that there would be a dark world and a light world in Pikmin. I don't think it really fits the setting or the narrative of the series, but rather this mechanic could be morphed into the sense of a day and night system. And if you've been playing the series since the beginning, this doesn't really seem to make sense at first, but if you look at all the mechanics that they were laid out from the original game to the third one and seeing how the mechanics developed over time, I think there's actually a good argument to make here. So let me make my case. In the original Pikmin, it was established that at sunset, it's important for Olimar and the Pikmin to fly off the ground in order to avoid nighttime predators. This mechanic forces players to decide how they will break up each day in terms of objectives, resource management, and so forth, and optimize such that they can collect all the ship parts in each area in the shortest amount of time possible. Time management is also encouraged in the narrative by the fact that there is a 30-day limit. In Pikmin 2, this formula begins to change with the addition of caves and multiple captains, areas where, for whatever reason, time stops during the day, and instead of worrying about time, you are worried about ever-increasing challenges with limited Pikmin. This was a welcome change of pace with the increased challenge over the first game in the caves, with the outside exploration still pretty fun and creative like the original, although somewhat more subdued. I say this because the focus of exploration changed from exploring an alien planet for survival to instead focus on finding the next cave in each area. Also, the day limit as introduced in the first game was removed and allowed as much time as possible, which made the challenging sections of getting to caves not too bad since you could take your time, despite some enemies undoing bridges or respawning again. In Pikmin 3, the formula again is tweaked with the day limit returning, but in the form of juice, where each day requires rations of juice for the captains to survive to fix their ship. This shows that the team over each entry in the series is willing to change and adapt series mechanics in order to fit the game they intend to make with that entry. With all that in mind, here is how I think the parallel world mechanic could be implemented in Pikmin 4. So we know that the Pikmin have nocturnal predators that usually sleep during the day, generally making it easier to fight them. This aligns well with the fact that nobody has limitless energy and the captains need to rest, so the gameplay loop is to explore, fight, and collect during the day and rest at night. But what if it was possible to explore, fight, and collect at night if the player chose to? As each game grew in scope and added more playable captains, what if you could choose to have multiple captains during the day, or assign a captain to rest during the day and work the night shift instead? This could introduce a level of challenge the series has never seen before, and potentially introduce gameplay scenarios not possible previously. In Pikmin 3, there is a boss with its spawn who are weak to light. What if a new Pikmin, or say captain ability, allowed the use of light? It could allow a way to safely explore at night and potentially ward off nocturnal predators. Minor gameplay tweaks could be that planted Pikmin don't gain flowers without the sunlight, so maybe only nectar at night is the only way to gain flowers, and maybe Pikmin are worse at following directions or need a guided path to collect items since it's dark and they could get lost at night. This mechanic sounds annoying at first, but if you think about it, it was already experimented with in Pikmin 3 with the final boss, where the Pikmin carrying Olimar at the end will follow Brittany. Continuing to expand on mechanics introduced in Pikmin 3, I think Pikmin 4 could make much better use of the juice mechanic. So, for instance, in Pikmin 3, one juice ration is used for a day, regardless of how many captains are out that day. While this could stay the same, the difference here would be that there are even more compelling reasons to gather as many fruit in a day as possible to ensure that you can save a captain on the side to work the night shift and supply them with their own juice afterwards. The Pikmin games have always been about collecting as an objective with a minimum threshold for completion and 100% completion. This could be divided between day and night, where if players want to avoid extremely difficult night scenarios, they can choose to do so, and for players wanting more of a challenge, they would have to balance and optimize their day-night collecting in order to fully see everything during the day and at night. Of course, this would require the developers striking the important balance of including sequences of needing all captains during the day or night and having the player decide, okay, do I use all 3 captains today to rush this bridge, rock, wall sequence to grab 3 pieces of fruit? Or do I use 1 captain in the day to grab fruit and grow Pikmin for my 2 captains to grab a collectible and 1 piece of fruit at night? I think the most interesting possibility and case for nighttime gameplay here would be how the night could deliver an experience equivalent to playing Pikmin for the first time. So let me explain. In the original Pikmin, the player had no idea what the connection was between all of the flora and fauna on this alien planet, and there's pretty much a surprise around every corner in each area and stage of the game. So there was a constant sense of progression and learning how this alien planet operates and how to kind of expect what it will throw at you next. So the way Pikmin operates now, say that you're exploring some area during the day, you fight some bulborbs, you maybe break down a wall or 2 and you grab some fruit, and that's it, right? Well, at night, say that if you could explore, it would almost be like one of the challenge stages that are in Pikmin, where there's a plethora of new fauna and flora and mechanics that go along with both of those now that you're constantly introduced to throughout the game. So maybe at night you can't grow more Pikmin and pellet posies stay closed. The area is now dimly lit as you explore, and weird sounds you've never heard before are coming from the bushes constantly, and you have to wonder, is that a new enemy? Are these just the environment sounds for this area at night? I think there's a real opportunity here to deliver an experience to the series that almost reinvigorates the series in the sense of there's a new area and it's exciting because not only are there new untold dangers lurking around during the day, but also at night the area could completely change and have completely different mechanics. Anyways, those are just a few ideas I have circling around my head as we wait for more news on Pikmin 4. Hopefully it's not another couple years before we hear anything, but yeah, just leave me a comment if you think this idea is too out there or if it could use some adjustments. I'm probably not considering every single mechanic in the series, so feel free to let me know in the comments. But yeah, thanks for listening and watching, and hopefully have another video soon. Thanks. Bye.